Hey guys, it's a beautiful day in Denver, Colorado, and we're checking out a new electric bike from Blix. This is called the Sol, which means sun in Swedish. It's a Swedish company. They've been making and selling electric bikes since 2014, and I've actually met the founder. I've checked out a bunch of their other models, including the Avani, which is very similar to this bike, but it's more of an active city bike that comes with some racks and lights. This model's been stripped down so they could lower the price and just make it simple. Which I appreciate. So this is $15.99. Not too bad considering that they sell through shops. They've got a great warranty. It only comes in one size, but it's only a 17-inch standover height, so really low, and you can bring that saddle very low as well. So this is the type of bike that feels like almost anyone could ride. If you're taller, you raise the saddle, tip the bars up a little bit. There's an adjustable angle Pro Max stem, and this is a quill stem, so it can go up and down as well as adjust like that. And these bars, they just sweep way back. They come right to you. So you've got this upright seating position and you can enjoy the sights or chat with a friend. I talked about the frame being aluminum alloy. Everything on this is aluminum alloy except for the seat post right there. So even the handlebars and the fork. I love that the fork is color matched, and I love that it's raked out a little bit. So the length of this bike is a couple inches more than the Avani, and that gives you some stability. It just sort of slows things down. I haven't experienced any speed wobble or anything. It's not twitchy, it's just relaxed. It's very nice. And then one of the other unique aspects about this bike is that they've chosen a sort of a different wheel size, and they've custom done these tires with Kenda. So they've got that beautiful brown sidewall that matches these rubber ergonomic grips and this faux leather velo saddle. I like that it's branded, but the branding here, it's all understated. You can see that on the kind of that down tube as well. You can see that the wires are also internally routed, mostly, not completely. You can see that one's not, but pretty well done. They're great management of these wires here. Really nice metal connectors, threaded with rubber, like kind of water-resistant washers in there. And when you look at this, you count the wires, there's a motor inhibitor, and that basically tells the motor to cut off anytime you pull the brake. So you're getting a physical stop as well as a motor stop. And then you've got a throttle on this side, and you've got a display. I mean, that's 4 cables, but they're wrapped really nicely. I really like this choice of wire wrap. There's a beautiful aesthetic to this bike, and we're looking at the charcoal color, but they also have a sky blue. And again, Sol meaning sun. Just get out there, have fun, ride around the neighborhood, hang out with your friends, be relaxed, and then have full control over the bike. So we're going to get into the drive systems in a minute, but it has a throttle which is active at all times. I really appreciate that. I love the kickstand position here. It's adjustable, so you can kind of dial it in and make sure the bike won't tip over. 170 millimeter forged alloy crank arms. That's pretty typical. And when you pedal this thing backwards, see how the chain moves back there? Maybe you're oiling the drivetrain, or you're just backing the bike up if this is in a garage or a bike rack. The pedals will cycle backwards when you do that, and they won't collide with the kickstand, which is really nice. That's something that I see on some other cruisers. You can see that they actually have a central mount for a kickstand, and they've opted to add a tab, and they've positioned out of the way so that you won't have to deal with pedal lock. It's really nice. And you can see the 160 millimeter Tektro Aquila disc brakes, front and rear. Disc brakes are kind of nice because you can have these beautiful rounded rims instead of machined sidewalls and stuff. Maybe it's freeing up that tire, and it's freeing up the front of the bike as well. It's nice to have disc brakes. However, if you come to certain bike racks, there's like the metal bar, and that can bump the rotor there, get bent or something like that. So try not to bump this, try not to touch it. The oils from your hands can mess up the pads. And then being mechanical versus hydraulic, they take a little bit more hand effort, but the levers up here are pretty nice, right? They've got this rubberized edge, so you're a little bit more comfortable, and they're 4 fingers, so you can get a real good hold on that thing. And combined with the ergonomic grips and then the swept back bar, it's actually a really comfortable ride. It doesn't feel jarring, even though there's no suspension, right? So there's no suspension fork, there's no suspension seat post. You've just got some bumpers on the saddle, a little bit more surface area, and a little bit more volume on those tires. So those are 27.5 by 2.2. And most of the cruisers I see are maybe 700C 28-inch tires or 26. Blix has gone right in between. So they want to give you that low attack angle They want to give you high air volume, but they also wanted to keep the bike still fairly low to the ground so you get that 17-inch standover height. So it's a compromise. It's something that I haven't seen other companies do. We're only talking about, you know, half an inch or an inch or something, but it all kind of adds up to create a unique and enjoyable experience. I feel like they've done a really good job with that. I want to call out that they've got some tabs here for adding a front basket. They've got some mounts in the back that are kind of hidden. They're on the inside of those seat stays, so you can add a rear rack as well, and they will be selling those along with alloy fenders. So if you really want to trick this thing out and you just like the cruiser style and you want the step through, you can turn this into kind of like the Avenue, right, in terms of the features. And I think they even sell the lights that can be wired in to run off of the main battery pack, but you don't have to do that. It's really up to you. So coming back to the drivetrain here, we've got the chain, we've got 7 sprockets, 14 to 28 tooth. It's not the biggest range, and then we've also got a basic Shimano Tourney derailleur, but again, that helps to save some money, it gets the job done, and you can see that the wires, this one's a little bit stuck out here, and I don't know if that's just because the shop set it up and maybe didn't pull it all the way through. You want to make sure that doesn't get caught or snagged as you're riding. There is a little spring right here, but if this gets damaged, the motor could stop working, and you know, then you're kind of out of luck. I want to point out that there are 12 extra thick 12 gauge spokes in the rear and 36 spokes, so it's a pretty beefy, sturdy setup. Blix told me that it's a 250-pound max weight recommended, but I'm guessing it could probably take more. You know, the manufacturers like to be extra safe. And then up here we have thicker than average 13 gauge spokes. Average is about 14. Okay, so the higher the number, the thinner they are. So I feel like, again, 36 hole. They're building this to be sturdy, even though it looks elegant. And you can see that in the frame right here too, okay? Here's the main tube, and then there's this gusset, there's this extra piece of metal that's welded here to give it some stiffness, and then down here there's a separate bar to connect the seat tube and that main tube together. You could maybe lift the bike from here, but I think it's actually for strength, so you don't get as much frame flex. And it's neat that the battery is at the center of the bike versus on a rear rack or something, because that's going to bring weight low and center. I like the black battery too. It blends in really nicely. It's very elegant. But there is a little bit of complaining to do about the battery. You actually have to turn it on separately before you activate the display. And imagine you're up here and you've mounted the bike, you're like, I'm ready to go, and there's the display, and you're trying to turn it on. Oh, you forgot the battery. You have to kind of lean back and reach down and then turn it on. So that's one area where it's like, you know, maybe a little bit of room for improvement. Many other bikes just let you control everything at the display. Some bikes, they now have like USB ports and stuff, which is nice. Removable displays. I really like this display, but it's not removable, and it can tilt a little bit, but not much. You want to keep it tight, and it's just not as adjustable. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Even the buttons, you have to reach over the trigger throttle to adjust the settings on the display. So it's a mixed but high quality solution. I do like how it looks. I do like interacting with it, and I'm going to get back to that in a second. So 12 millimeter threaded axle in the rear. It's sturdy. It's got some dropouts that fit into the frame. Feels like, especially with a motor like this, with up to 60 newton meters of torque, it's a little bit more on the efficiency side, and it definitely starts smoothly. We'll see that later when we do a ride test. And then up front, 100 millimeter hub spacing, very traditional. But this one has a quick release skewer, so it's easier to take that off if you want to fit this into the back of your car or something. You can imagine adjusting this stem and kind of folding the handles down, and you could probably fit it in quite a few cars that way, which is cool. I would recommend making sure that this is tight though. Over time, especially with such a big bar, you've got a lot of leverage, and if you're going off curbs or through bumpy terrain, even like grass, and you're a bigger person, you can kind of start to loosen that up, and then it could slip around a little bit. So just keep an eye on that, right? Make sure that it's tightened down once you're in the correct position. Now coming back to the saddle for a minute, check this out. There's this cool like flip up design. So the saddle comes up, that gives you access to the battery, and I happen to have the keys with me right now. So come down here, can unlock it like this, but don't leave the key in, because see, now I could slide it up, but if I go too far, it's going to collide and bend that key. So I'm going to take the keys out, set them down. Now we can take the battery out. So again, it's about 6 pounds. This is the 36 volt 11 amp hour pack, but they also have a 36 volt 17.5 amp hour pack. That's awesome, and it's only $200 to upgrade at time of purchase. Otherwise, that's like a $500 or $600 battery pack. So it's kind of neat, and these batteries are interchangeable on the different Blix models. So whether you have one of their Vika Plus folding bikes, or maybe you've got that Avenue that I keep talking about, the city bike, or maybe you've got two of these bikes and you just want to take one for a longer ride, you can. It's great that they're interchangeable. It's neat that you can be upgraded that way, and I do feel like it works out pretty well. I'm going to try to line this up just right at the bottom. There we go. Got it seated in position, and then we lock it back in place so it's not going to rattle around once we start riding. Okay, now when you're ready to ride, we'll just put the saddle down, press the power button. You can see the little LED indicator. Looks like we got a full pack, and then we press the power button on the top edge of the display. It actually says M, which might stand for mode or menu. The default readouts here are 5 battery ticks, speed, it's set for miles per hour right now, and then assist level. It's in 1 right now, but we can go down to 0 by pressing the arrow key. And if we click down one more time, it actually goes to 4. So it loops, which is really nice, because sometimes you're like, yeah, great, lots of pedal assist, and then like, okay, 0. Now I want to just do throttle only and not worry about the pedals and, you know, accidentally activating the motor. On this bike, it's not so much of an issue though, because it's so smooth and subtle, which is really cool. Like, this is not the bike that feels overwhelming or scary. And again, it's a more efficient motor. It's capable, but this is smoother. This is more relaxed and natural. You can see the cadence sensor down here. It's got 12 little magnets. So this is a higher resolution sensor, but it's sort of an external one. They do have some new ones that fit on this side of the bottom bracket that are a little bit more compact and sealed. This still gets the job done, and it was top of the line maybe a year or 2 ago. So, you know, I feel like it's good enough. And then there's that box right here below the battery, and that's actually where the controller is, and you can see the wires running out. There's a quick disconnect for the motor and stuff. So anyway, it works well enough. At the base level, that's kind of it, you know, battery level, assist level, speed. But when you press that M button, now it says average speed, max speed, and then it goes to odometer over here, and trip meter, and then trip time. Right, so there's quite a bit in here, even though it's just so compact and cute. I really like this display. If you hold the up button, it turns on backlighting. You can see a little light. If this bike had lights wired in, they would turn on right now, but it does not. Down doesn't really do anything. You know, I was trying to figure out if it had a walk mode or something, but you know, with the trigger throttle, you can kind of activate the motor at any time. You just override. Look at that, really smooth. It's a variable speed trigger throttle. Which is nice. You know, you can just push it just a little bit and the bike will go slow, or you can, you know, really gun it and you have a lot of control. I like that. However, let's imagine that the bike's on right now and you hand it off to a friend and they get on and they kind of, whoa, and then the bike takes off like that, right? So this is something to be kind of careful of, or to consider with a bike that has a throttle that's active. I do like that it's a trigger throttle versus a twist throttle, because I think those are easier to sort of bump. This might take a little bit more kind of flexibility or finger strength. It might not be as comfortable as a twist throttle, but they do have a grip shifter over here, so you can shift, you know, 1 to 7 speeds in the back, and I feel like that's pretty natural. There's a little window on it, so you can pretty easily tell what gear you're in, but you have to lean like way forward, and maybe it's just the way this shop has it set up, because they have the brake lever on top and then the twist shifter below. You can see where the cable housing is sort of colliding there, so they weren't able to tip it back and make that window as visible. So for me, that's kind of you know, there are a couple compromises on this bike. There's no bottle cage bosses, and again, it doesn't come with some of those extra features, and it's using a cheaper derailleur and stuff, mechanical disc brakes. But for the price point, to have a shop that puts this together, that supports you and stuff, I think it's pretty nice, and the cockpit is relatively clean. Again, a USB port would be cool if you could mount your cell phone or something. You can always get one of those cup holders off of Amazon or whatever that mounts to the bar, and then you're all set. It might even be easier to reach than a bottle that's mounted to the frame. So I like it. Overall, I'm a fan, but I want to be fair and kind of clear about some of the trade-offs that this product offers. So the up and down arrows, let's get back to those. If you hold them simultaneously, it enters into the menu. Okay, so the first part is trip clear. I don't want to clear the trip, so I'm going to hit power. Backlighting 3, so you can adjust how bright this is. If it's at night and you're like, it's kind of distracting, you can tone it down. And then the next menu here, you can change from miles to kilometers, which is great. I'm going to leave it in miles. And then you're back to trip clear. So that's that simple. There really aren't too many menus to explore. I'm going to hold the M button again, and we're done. We've gone through the entire display. We've looked at the bike. I've given you my feedback and stuff. I feel like this is a really special cruiser, because so many cruisers are big and heavy, and it's like, well, that's just how it is. We're going to give you a big, powerful motor and a huge battery pack, and they weigh like 60 pounds or something. For me personally, I'm not a huge guy, but I like the cruiser like relaxed style. So for me, this is really great. And again, the price point really sets it apart. Coming back to charging the battery, you know, the 36 volt 11 amp hour, that's 396 watt hours. That's kind of average. But if you get that 17.5 amp hour battery, I mean, that's huge, and it could take a long time to charge. Except for that, they give you this nice 3 amp charger, right? Normal electric bike chargers, they tend to be like 2 amps. There are some 4 amps, but to get a 3 amp charger that's, you know, relatively lightweight and compact, I think that's a win too. And it's great. You could toss it in your backpack or something when you're riding along. And I want to call out the helmet that I've got on. It has there's kind of a light built into the top. I'm big on safety, and I think that the sidewalls of these tires would shine a little bit at night, but they aren't reflective. There isn't really any reflective paint on it. We've got some nice silver accents, but there's no lights. So safety is something I call out a lot. Even if you're in the neighborhood, it's nice to be seen. So I wanted to, you know, do a little shout out. Sometimes you have backpacks, put a little light on it, or add a little aftermarket headlight on the handlebar. I would definitely think about that before you head out. So I think that's a great overview. I'm gonna hop on the bike and we'll do some riding through the beautiful neighborhood here. Okay, so I'm just gonna mount up. The saddle is low enough right now that I don't even have to use my tiptoes. I can just sit down comfortably and maybe take this up to assist level 3. Start pedaling here. Here we go. It's really smooth, really quiet. I think I heard some opera singing going on. Oh, that woman right there. That's pretty neat. Okay, and we'll let this car, they're giving us the green light. It's nice to be able to use the throttle, just power across the street without hurting my knees. Appreciate that. The upright seating position.
What?
Are you an opera singer?
I studied, yeah.
Very cool. You sounded beautiful.
Hard. Oh.
I was just saying hi.
Oh, it's so hard. It's not easy, but languages are cool. And the story behind.
Yeah? Do you speak other language?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can hear my accent. I do speak more than one language.
You sounded nice.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a good day. Okay, and then here we are at a stop sign. Yep, and we just throttle away. Beautiful. It's one of the things I really like about electric bikes is that, you know, stop signs aren't as much of an issue. I don't feel bummed out when I have to stop because I know I've got some help getting started again. This one just feels very steady. Yep, tracking nicely. The wider tires are going to give you a little bit more traction if you do have to go through a section of dirt or gravel. They give you a comfort. Back at the website, I'm listing like the recommended pressure, tire pressure and stuff, so you can choose a level that suits your body weight. Like I'm relatively lightweight at 135 pounds, so I tend to go to the lower tire pressure because it's more comfortable. But if you go too low, you know, then you can get a pinch flat, which is where the tire, you know, squishes in and it sort of pinches the inner tube. And then the other downside is that, you know, you're not going to be as efficient. So try to pick a level that suits you. And then again, the comfort-wise, these bars coming way back like this, it just feels really flowy. It's a really nice ride like that. And it dampens some of the vibration from the road. So my hands don't feel very stressed. My shoulders feel pretty good right now. But I am upright. And so when I hit some bumps, there's a little bit of kind of bounce happening and maybe a little bit of back sensitivity over time if you're not on a beautiful smooth street like we are here. Okay guys, we're connected to the seat post here, 27.2 millimeters by the way. You can see the 48 tooth chainring. I like that they've got a plastic guide. Plastic, you know, it's fairly resilient. It's not quite as tough as aluminum alloy, so they're balancing weight and aesthetic. It's really nice matching, but it's going to keep that chain from bouncing off, which does happen kind of frequently on some electric bikes, so that's a nice little upgrade. I like the plastic pedals, the rubber grip. It's wide enough, but it's not gonna cut your shins or something or scrape you if you slip off. And then back here, it's the 14 to 28 tooth cassette Shimano Tourney, so it's entry level in terms of hardware and derailleur, but I see that on a lot of bikes. It's definitely a cost savings measure, and it works well enough, especially for around town, kind of in the neighborhood. Gets the job done. That's part of what keeps the price a little bit lower. So I'm gonna take off. It's got that 12 magnet cadence sensor up front, so it's just measuring whether you're pedaling or not. It doesn't really measure how hard you're pedaling, so it's a little less sophisticated, but in some ways it's nice because you don't have to push. You can just move your legs a little bit and get the blood flowing, and the bike will respond. I'm going to do this ride test in the highest level of assist, which is 4, and that's going to make the motor just a little bit more audible. So it's a 350 watt up to 500 watt peak. It's a Spin Tech. It's a pretty nice little motor. I like the silver color. It blends in. Yeah, let's do it. Man, it's just so quiet, and it starts smooth. It ramps up, it's subtle, but then it gets going and it feels very natural. So if I weren't using the throttle, it's going to take a second for that cadence sensor to measure, for the motor to ramp up and stuff, but I love that the throttle overrides at any time because it gives you much more instantaneous and just a more powerful feel. So that's what I'm going to do this time. I'm going to start with the throttle, show you what that sounds like. Very good. Made it all the way up to 20 miles per hour. Disc brakes are working pretty well. Mechanical, so you know the rear brake, the cable has to go further, and you need a little bit more hand strength. But it's 4-finger levers. They get the job done, and again, that's kind of a cost savings approach. And disc brakes do work a little bit better than rim brakes. They stay cleaner and stuff. It's a nice little upgrade. So the whole system's working pretty well. There was a little bit of squeak when I stopped there, but not bad. Hey guys, we're just heading up towards the lake. I thought this was a pretty stretch of road and wanted to give you a different perspective. There's no suspension fork, there's no seat post suspension, but the higher volume of air in those tires does help with comfort, and the bike just feels pretty, I don't know, relaxed, quiet. That's my take. I'm gonna head back to the shop and try to get one of the guys to help me out and do a third-person shot for you. So I grabbed Dusty from Best Electric Bikes, and he's gonna hop on the Sol. You're a little bit taller, right?
Yeah, I'm about 6'3".
6'3". So, you know, this bike is fairly adjustable. It's got that Pro Max stem there. You can put it forward a little bit or up. I think you're going to be very upright, not going to have any problem stepping over, but yeah, just go for it. Yeah, just super low standover height, and the saddle's not really high enough for him to get full leg extension, but then again, he can put both feet like flat on the ground in this position with the saddle lower, and you can use the throttle. So I was talking to the guys at Blix, and they said that the programming for the new Sol is, it's a little bit zippier, a little bit more kick. And they said that's just, you know, the people who wanted to do the cruiser, kind of laid back and get that sense of power. So I'm excited to see this in person, third person. And I'm over here on the Vika, same setup. And actually, I'm gonna power this on. There we go. Man, it boots up so fast. Go for it, Dusty. Beautiful. Looking good, man. Is this the first time you've ridden it?
It is. Yeah, we were trying to hold on to it for you, because we wanted you to be the first one.
Thank you so much. Yeah, what do you think? I mean, you've ridden other cruisers.
Yeah, so far so good. I like the bigger plus-size tires, and swept bag, super comfy.
Yeah, it is interesting, right? Like, they picked something in between. You've got 28-inch tires, 700C, and 26, and they went with 27.5, 2.2. So it's a little bit wider, a little bit more air volume, gives you some comfort, lower attack angle.
For sure. And yeah, kind of probably better someday get the seat up a little more for me, but
yeah, raise it, get that leg extension.
For sure. But even so, since it's a wide handlebar, I'm not even hitting my knees or anything like that, so it could be worse.
It's interesting you say that, because yeah, when I was riding it, I mean, I was very, very upright, because the bars, they just really come back, and there's not a super long reach. It's a different feel, and it's one of the things that I've noticed about a cruiser sometimes with like a rear rack battery and stuff is just the weight distribution.
Yeah, and unlike some of the other cruisers, it's not as long. Some of the cruisers are like super duper long, and so this would be a lot more manageable if like you need to throw it in the back of an SUV, or if like you're trying to get onto a like a bus.
Well, yeah, and it's lighter. I mean, this is one of their lighter bikes because it doesn't come with the racks or the lights and stuff. So I was measuring this like moments ago, and compared to the Avenue, the one that has the racks included and stuff, that's more of a city bike. This one's actually a couple inches longer, so they said they did extend the wheelbase for stability, but compared to these other cruisers with rack batteries and stuff, I think you're right. It's kind of it's an in-between. It's so interesting. And again, the price point on this is like $1,500, not bad.
Yeah, that part is gonna be killer for sure.
Does Blix sell pretty well at your shop, or?
Yeah, we do sell a lot, especially yeah, the Avenues have been a great seller, with or without the basket, but they just provide a really good mix of, you know, decent battery life and performance, but they're not a rocket. Like, you know, some people don't actually want to feel like it's a bicycle instead of you know, a powered scooter with pedals.
Yeah, but you got like kind of a minimalist hub motor there, so it's a little bit more efficiency and lightweight design versus like, you know, the V10 feel.
Yeah, but still no issues getting a 20, you know, if you want to go that fast, so that's always a nice little bonus.
I like that. I feel like it'd be a good fit for, I'm a more active rider, and I like that lightweight feel, but also women, you know, or people who are just shorter inseams, kind of petite. And I like the colors. This one, they call it charcoal, but it's got a metallic sheen to it, and it's really, I mean, you know, to me, I like this color. It's unique, and they also have baby blue, so that's kind of cool. Thank you so much, man. It's always neat to come out and get third-person perspective, but also reliability. You know, have you guys, honestly, like, you had any issues with Blix? Or?
Not at all. They're one of our favorites. They're up there with Pedigo as far as, you know, we never have issues with them. I've never seen like a motor go bad, or really the only thing I've ever seen with batteries is people lose the keys when you have to you know, change the lock. That's about it.
That's why they give you at least 3, right?
That's where it starts for sure.
And their whole spin tech thing, like, that's their own brand motor display and stuff. Seems to be pretty reliable.
Yeah, and they're fairly quiet, and yeah, just everything just works like you expect it to.
So we're back at the shop, and I ran into Paul. We were hanging out last time you guys did one of these events, and you took the Sol out. You got a little. We've got a customer out there riding the Sol.
Look at it. He's having a blast.
He's loving it. I want to get his feedback. But what did you say? You felt like it's
so because the battery pack is on the seat tube. Yeah. It really feels balanced. I know for mountain bikes you want it to have it right in the center for that agility, but having it right in the back, and this is what I love about Blix, is that it's just so solid, and the wheelbase is nice for commuting, because that's your shocks if you lower the pressure. Yeah, you can have a lot of fun with it, and it's light.
It's light.
Yeah,
48.9 pounds for a cruiser. Yeah. It feels more like a regular bicycle than some of the other, you know, the really loaded up, right?
It's a really quiet motor.
Really quiet. Is everything? What are your thoughts? Are you okay on camera?
Yeah.
Cool.
I like it a lot, actually. I thought it was pretty cool.
Sweet.
It's very. I think the quietness of it is probably the best part.
Did it feel more like a regular bike? Do you ride regular bikes too?
Yeah, it did. It felt like a regular cruiser.
Sweet, man. Yeah, except it's a little bit easier going up those hills, right?
Definitely a lot easier. I was surprised at how quiet I still am hung up on my bike's motor. I feel like is very loud.
Okay, so question about the strength though, okay? You know, we were talking about the motor and you were like 250 watt and I was like, no, 350, like, you know, 60 newton meters of torque. What did that actually feel like? Because you've ridden other electric bikes.
Yeah, it felt decent.
Sweet, man. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great day. Well, guys, I think that just about wraps it up. I've had a lot of fun cruising around these beautiful neighborhoods. Perfect day in Denver. It's not too hot, but with the electric assist, you get a little bit of a breeze going on. It's beautiful. For the full written review on the new Blix Sol, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. All the specs, measurements, and stuff. Some comments, sound off if you've got any questions or feedback. I'll try to help you out. And have fun out there. Ride safe. Okay. It's nice to get like some real life feedback, so it's not just me.